For nearly 15 years I worked overtime, skipped vacations, and saved every extra paycheck to buy a beautiful 5-acre parcel on the edge of a growing community. The land had belonged to my grandfather before he sold it decades earlier, and buying it back felt like restoring a piece of my family's history. Before placing the first shovel into the ground, I visited the county planning office several times, hired licensed engineers, obtained environmental approval, passed soil inspections, secured building permits, and even attended HOA architectural review meetings. Every document they requested was submitted. Every approval arrived in writing. Construction finally began, and within weeks the foundation was complete, the framing stood proudly against the sky, and neighbors frequently stopped by to compliment the future home. Then everything suddenly changed. A bright red notice appeared nailed to my framing stating that the HOA had declared my project an abandoned hazardous structure. According to the letter, the board claimed my house had violated neighborhood standards and would reduce surrounding property values. They ordered me to completely remove the construction within 30 days or face fines of $1,500 every single day. I immediately contacted the HOA office, expecting someone to admit there had been a misunderstanding. Instead, the president smugly informed me that my approvals had supposedly become invalid after a recent board vote. Oddly enough, no homeowner had ever been notified about such a vote. When I requested the meeting minutes, they refused to provide them. A few days later I discovered why. A luxury developer had recently approached several nearby landowners offering enormous amounts of money to assemble a large residential subdivision. My property sat directly in the center of the land they wanted. Every surrounding parcel had already been purchased except mine. Suddenly the HOA's aggressive campaign made perfect sense. They weren't trying to protect the community, they wanted me gone. They sent inspectors who weren't actually licensed inspectors. They photographed normal construction materials and called them dangerous debris. They even claimed rainwater collecting inside my unfinished basement represented an environmental hazard. Every accusation conveniently supported their demand that the county revoke my permits. Fortunately, the county refused to act without conducting its own inspection. The official inspector arrived carrying copies of every permit I had ever received. As he walked around the property, he repeatedly shook his head in disbelief. Every structural element exceeded code requirements. The framing passed inspection. Electrical rough-ins passed inspection. Plumbing installations passed inspection. Even the temporary safety fencing exceeded county standards. When I showed him the HOA violation letters, his expression changed immediately. He asked who had signed them because several referenced county regulations that simply did not exist. A week later he called me with astonishing news. Someone had submitted forged engineering reports to the county using the digital signature of an engineer who had retired 3 years earlier. Even worse, the fraudulent reports originated from an email account linked to a consulting company secretly owned by the HOA vice president's brother. The county immediately launched an investigation. Search warrants uncovered emails discussing strategies to pressure me into selling before construction finished. Internal HOA communications openly referred to my property as the final obstacle, preventing the developer's multi-million-dollar purchase. Financial records revealed consulting payments flowing from the developer into companies connected to multiple board members. During public hearings, dozens of homeowners learned for the first time that the HOA leadership had been making major decisions without member votes while secretly negotiating with outside investors. The scandal exploded across local news stations. The county invalidated every violation notice issued against my property, permanently barred the HOA from interfering with county-approved construction projects, and referred multiple board members for criminal investigation involving fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. Civil lawsuits soon followed. Several directors resigned within weeks. The developer abandoned the entire land acquisition after investigators uncovered the secret agreements. Meanwhile, construction on my home resumed without interruption. Months later my family finally moved into the finished house exactly where it had always belonged. The same neighbors who once worried my home would disappear attended our housewarming celebration, laughing about how the HOA's attempt to erase one dream had instead exposed years of corruption hidden behind polished boardroom smiles.